I went to the Ollie's in Duluth today to see what they still had in stock for the American Craft Sale. They had marquee letters, the light letters, but they only had W and B. But they had lots of them. They had a ton of these little bottles of sugar crystals. They had these dauber bottles. I'm going to use mine for glue so I can daub on the back of stuff that I die cut and stuff that I cut out that is small. They had more of these journals. It's a 2-pack. The one on the front has white paper and the one on the back has craft paper. These were super cute. This is the first time I've seen this. These are screens that you put in your car window, like on the side, and it looks like a golden retriever sitting in the car. It's super cute. They had lots of stencils still, the poster stencils. They had blue vinyl. I believe this was a 4-foot roll, yes, 14 inches long. These were not actually $1, they were $2.49. They had these cute little, so cute. It had 2 little pandas in it, a big one and a little one, that you stitch together with your hand stitch. And then they had these Pour Magic, and then they had these resin bottles. This is cute. It's a little miniature turnstile that you put on to decorate cookies. And then, much to my surprise, they actually had paper pads out today. You know, the paper pads came out in the beginning and then everybody bought them all. And then I haven't seen any for another week or two. But at this store, they actually had 5 different type of paper pads. They had the little bloom one, which is only had a couple sheets in it. They had the Park Lane pastels. They were all $1.99. Had some pretty colors in the pastel one. They had more of the ivory cardstock, which I had bought before, and kind of has it's a really pretty yellow, but it's more yellow than it is ivory. They had a big 12 by 12, 180 pack of the Park Lane photo reel. And this was taped together, so I couldn't, I'll show it in my haul. But it was big photos on the sheets of paper. So you'd have to have something that you could use something that big on. The only thing I could think of is the front of journals. And then on the bottom, they had the little basics in bright. I believe it's 8 by 8. And so I got a couple of those. I can use those for almost anything. So those were all $1.99. And they still had plenty when I left, and this was for today. And then they had these pop-outs. Those were cute for baking. They had some sanding sugar. This is the same pastel colors. And these are, I believe, $1.49. So a lot of the stuff on this table was marked. This is the colored frosting. This was really cute. This was a mold, a chocolate mold, and you fill it full of chocolate along the edge, and it makes a big ball that's hollow on the inside, and then you put candy in it, and then you break it, so it's like a chocolate piñata. It's really cute. This was decorating kit. They had several decorating kits. And this was just a mixture of sprinkles and things. They had a lot of meltable chocolate. They had all sorts of different colors, which I'll show. They had green and yellow and white and blue and just a plethora of colors. but they weren't $1. They were a range. I think some were $1.49 and some were $1.99. But they had some really pretty. They had the purple. I believe they had white, and then they had more of the decorations. Oh, and they have the white, orange, yellow, just a lot of different colors. And then they had more of the Heidi Swapp file folders. I had gotten some of these last week, but they still had a few more in the box. This is more melting chocolate. And then this is, I bought one of these last week. This is the Sugar Bell cookie cutters, and it's really cute. It has a template in it where it shows you how to decorate the cookies. These are little cookie boxes. There are, I believe, 4 in there. Probably hold a couple of cookies apiece. More baking embellishments. This was the ivory ribbon that they had. I also thought I would try out the school supply and the office supply section. They had lots of sticky notes, a lot of office supplies, pads of paper, some really pretty journals actually. They had a couple of pretty good deals on student kits, scissors, crayons, pencil boxes, glues, just all sorts of things like that. They had these little 3-tier trays. They had some heavy, some nice staplers. Nothing fantastic, but, all of it's typically a good deal. I did find a few more crafts on this aisle. It was where all of the canvases are. These are some more chocolate molds. This one is like a small little bowl, and this is a football, and these are, you fill it with chocolate and then smash it. And then they have this pretty cute little Sweet Tooth Fairy cupcake holder. They had some of the Cricut Smart Vinyl. They had all sorts of canvases and paint sets and wood pieces, paints, just all sorts of stuff. This store is kind of a mess back in their craft section. I think they try, but so this is the normal craft section. They did have a lot of the older vinyl. They had the green glitter, and then they had just a black, white, red, green, blue of the regular vinyl. They did have some basil paper, a couple more packs of the ivory. They did have these 2 stencils, which I've seen in several stores, the Farm Sweet Farm and the Welcome to the Barn stencils. They had kind of a mishmash of ribbon, nothing I could use. Packs of blue marble paper, a couple of Astro design papers. But that was kind of it. They really didn't have much in the craft section. They did have this cute little crochet or knit little kit. It was kind of cute. And this is the stuff that I see in her all the time. The big jugs of glue, the sidewalk chalk. They also have these Heidi Swapp black light reactive letters, little containers full of them. They were cute. I had not seen those before. And then they just had your typical sketch pads, composition pads, watercolor pads, things like that. The last 2 or 3 times I've gone in here, this section's gotten messier and messier. They did have this one little pretty pastel die kit set that I believe was $2.99, but that was the only one I saw. So I'm not quite sure what's happening to this section, but I think they're just so busy in there, nobody's had time to pick it up, and this particular section hasn't been replenished since I first started going. The American craft section in the middle has been restocked several times, but this back section, I haven't seen anything new back here in probably 3 weeks. They still had a couple of the file folders, I think the brown and blue ones, and I believe the stripe ones. They had a couple left in stock. So I think that's about it for the craft section. I definitely think the American craft section is worth seeing. So if you get a chance to go, I hope you enjoy.